The second reading is taken from St. Matthew's Gospel, chapter 2, verses 1 to 15. In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem asking, "Where is the child who has been born King of the Jews? For we observed his star at its rising and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him. And calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for so it has been written by the prophet. And you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod secretly called for the wise men and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared. He sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word so that I may go and pay homage to him." When they had heard the king, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star that they had seen at its rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw Mary and the child, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then, opening their treasure chests, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their country by another road. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Today, as we remember the visit of the Magi, I want to think a little about the theme of journeys. Many of us this year will have made less journeys than usual because of the restrictions and not being able to visit people and other places. I know many people have felt a sadness over Christmas at not being able to meet family and friends apart from by Zoom or Skype or whatever. And although we feel grateful for that connection that we can have, it's just not the same as physically meeting face to face, is it? But one surprising outcome for me on this restriction on travel is that I found a simple joy in the journey itself. Just getting in the car and driving somewhere, anywhere, feels like something of an adventure these days. And when Steve and I were back and forth to hospital a couple of months ago, we actually found quite a pleasure in going somewhere together and talking along the way. The journey of the wise men coming from the east probably took several months and then several more months to return back home again. That really was quite an adventure for them, and it made me wonder what they talked about along the way. And in what way were they changed by their journey, particularly on the way home after encountering Jesus and having offered their gifts? In the Bible, immediately after the visit of the wise men, we hear of another journey as Joseph and Mary flee to Egypt to escape from Herod and the tragic massacre of the children that followed soon after. Reading of those two journeys side by side, a contrast struck me that the wise men returned home, albeit by a different way, but Mary and Joseph's journey took them yet further from their home in Nazareth and into exile, seeking refuge in a foreign country. That was not what they had expected when they set out from Nazareth to Bethlehem for the census, and I imagine that they would have been longing to return back home, but instead now found that they had further still to go. And as I thought about that, I just wondered if it had something to say to us in our spiritual journey. With all the changes this year, many changes, but I'm thinking particularly of in the way that we do worship and the way that we express being church together, we perhaps feel a bit dislocated and long to return home to how things used to be. And yet I don't think that it will be quite that simple. There will be choices to make about how much we journey back to how things were, or whether indeed it's right and God is calling us to travel further into a new future that He knows about and has for us. And none of that feels very clear. We do live with uncertainty, but I'm quite sure that not everything was clear for the wise men or for Mary and Joseph either. They trusted God's sign, the star, the dream, and they made the choice to follow. Journeying into the unknown is both exciting and scary, but what makes it less scary in terms of our journey with God is that it is with God. At the watch night service, I shared the well-known poem, The Gate of the Year. It begins, "I said to the man who stood at the gate of the year, give me a light that I may tread safely into the unknown. And he replied, go out into the darkness and put your hand into the hand of God. That shall be to you better than light and safer than a known way." We often talk about having the light of Christ to guide us, but how much more comforting, particularly in these days when we cannot touch and hug as we might like to think of putting our hand in the hand of God, someone who loves us and who we can trust to protect us and to guide us safely through whatever circumstances we may meet. Thinking about journeys, I've mentioned already our evolving plans to run the Pilgrim course this year. Pilgrim, of course, means someone on a pilgrimage, a journey, and part of the literature for the course describes it as a journey of exploration. I just want to tell you a little bit about it. The course is made up of 8 books, each of which contains 6 sessions, but you don't have to do them all. You can opt in and out of different modules. The first 4 books are designed for those who are inquirers or very new to faith, and they cover the questions of what do Christians believe, how do Christians know and worship God, how do Christians behave, and what's the Christian vision for the world. The next set of books, books 5 to 8, revisit those same questions but in greater depth and based on different Christian texts. And that's something I like very much about this course. It's all based on key Christian texts. The questions that are asked at baptism, the Lord's Prayer, the 10 Commandments, the creeds, the Beatitudes, and so on. Reading the Bible, worship and prayer are modelled right from the start, with people invited to contribute and join in as is right for them and as they feel comfortable. It's a course that I hope in time may evolve to be a rolling programme at St Mary's, perhaps stretching over 2 years. I think it could be a great resource for us, encouraging both exploration and deepening discipleship, part of our vision for growth. However, as a starting point, as our first step for now, I'd like to start at the beginning with Book 1, which is entitled Turning to Christ. It looks at what Christians believe through the 6 questions that are asked at baptism. If you are not yet baptised or confirmed, or if you have questions about what Christians believe or simply want to deepen in the roots of faith, then this may be the course for you. For many of you, however, this particular part of the course will not be for you, but for someone you know and who you could perhaps accompany on this journey. Who amongst your friends and contacts might be interested in exploring more about the Christian faith? Please do pray about it and get in touch with me or with Helena if you are interested. We're hoping to be able to arrange the group to accommodate those who are interested in coming along. Most likely it will have to be on Zoom in the first instance. Any journey has an element of the unknown. However well you plan, things change along the way. And most importantly, at the start is the decision to go, having the faith to take that first step and trusting that it will lead to others if you can't see clearly the way ahead. And then along the way, there are further decisions about whether you will keep going or choose a different route, or maybe even turn back. We're going to listen to a song now, and you might like to sing along as you get to know it, that talks about the daily choice to keep walking with God and following Jesus. It's based on a passage from the book of Joshua in the Old Testament, where he is urging the Israelites to choose who it is that they will serve. He answers, "As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." And so we listen now to the song, "Today I choose to follow you."